Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. Today's video is another day in the life, picking, packing, and shipping some Etsy orders, as well as 3D printing a new filament storage rack. Let's get right into it. Alright, so I have a few items that I need to get shipped out today. Lots of double orders of the business card holders, so thank you to everybody who's placed an order on the Etsy shop in the last couple of weeks. Looks like I've got 3 2-packs of the business card holders, 1 mini fireplace iPhone holder, and another single pack of the business card holders as well. Let's go get them shipped out. One large fireplace. I've also got one of the Festool holders as well. I'm going to be making a few of the dumbbell business card holders today. I'm not going to go as in-depth as I did in the last video. If you haven't seen that one, I go through how I assemble and make sure these are all secure. I'll have a link to that video down in the description below if you want to catch that one. For right now, I'm going to get these laid out in pairs so it makes it easier when I go to assemble them. For my CA glue today, I'm using the Adhesive Guru Instant Adhesive without the activator. There's no reason for it. I actually don't want these to cure as quickly as they would with activator because it gives me time to get them into place and make sure they're not wobbly on the table and whatnot. And I'm just using 4 little drops of glue here on each corner on the inside. And it just kind of coats that, and then I can thread it on here. There are threads on the end there. Then I like to set it on the table and just make sure it's flat so it doesn't wobble around like that. And off to the side. So as I was saying, there are threads on the end here, but there are no threads inside of here. I removed them because I was threading this in, and what would happen was I would get, to about this point, and it would be so tight that it wouldn't want to thread in anymore, and you'd be left with basically thread hanging out, which causes it to be a little bit weaker at that point. The other issue was when you would go to thread the other one in, sometimes it would line up, when you got it fully tight, you'd be lined up like this. And when you went to tighten it all the way, you'd get to about, there. And any more than that, and it would just snap it right in place. So I removed the threads on the inside of this and increased the tolerance a little bit. Kept the threads on this so the glue has some area to run into. And there's a very, very minimal threading left on the inside of these, just to give enough area for the glue to go. Also, I'm thinking of replacing this shipping station table since it's really big and takes up too much space in this area. With that said, I'd like to get some sort of sit-stand desk, I think. That way I can sit down to pack orders, and when I get tired of sitting, I can obviously stand up. I really do enjoy working on the computer while I'm standing. It keeps you awake, honestly. I've seen a couple different ones on YouTube as well as Amazon. So if you've used a sit-stand desk and have a positive or negative experience with it, let me know down in the comments below, and maybe we'll see one here pretty soon on the channel. I'd really like to make an informed decision before I go and spend $300, $400, $500 on a desk. I really want to get a good quality one. So yeah, let me know down in the comments if you've used a sit-stand desk before and had a good or bad experience with it. I'm going to get back to assembling the rest of these up. What do you do in situations like this? So I've got glue that is on this rod here. If I take acetone to it, it'll ruin the plastic piece. If I leave it there, it'll ruin the part. Do you toss these, or do you offer them as B grade or second parts? Because I've had quite a few of these where either the threading didn't go all the way in, or the glue dried before I was able to assemble it, or maybe it's just slightly off so it's a little bit bouncy. That it still works. It might have a blemish on it or be a little bit wobbly, but technically would still work. Would you offer it as a B grade product, or would you just toss it to the side and not have your name on that at all? It's one I struggle with. Let me know down below in the comments. While I'm waiting for the dumbbell card holders to finish drying, I'm gonna go into Etsy and get my shipping labels printed. If you're interested in picking up any of these bubble bags, these 6x10 mailers, these 10.5x16 mailers, the 9x6x4 boxes, or any of the other materials or things you see used in any of these videos, I'll have links for them down in the description below. After I glue them up and I've let them sit for a few minutes, I do like to come back and check. Not too much tension, but a fair amount, just to make sure that they're actually dry before I send them out for shipping. Alright, now that we're done with the dumbbells for right now, I'm going to store them away in their container. I just picked these little baskets up at Dollar General for $3 or $4 a piece, I think. And the rest of the baskets that I use are from somebody on Maker World. I'll link to them in the description because I know you've seen them in some of the videos. Last up on the list for today, finally starting to sell some of these guys for the holiday season. They're really cool. If you haven't seen them, I'll throw a video up right now of how they work. They hold your iPhone. They were originally designed to fit with the iPhone 13, so anything from the 13 up to the 16 Pro Max, and any of the variations should fit without a case in here. I'll have the link to my website listing as well as the video up on screen right now, just so you can see what they look like when they've got the phone and the fireplace going. Pretty cool. Unfortunately, these are one of the things that won't fit inside of the bubble bag all the way. But they might fit in there if you wrap another one on top. So let's grab a second bubble bag. That works pretty well. There are some sharp corners on this that I do worry about puncturing through one of the 10.5x16 bags. So I am going to use the 9x6x4 box. Get it assembled real quick. I'll grab 2 pieces of bubble wrap. That fits pretty snugly right inside of the box. And I'll lay the other piece of bubble wrap on top. I am going to go and get a count of all of the stock product that I currently have so I can get my website and Etsy up to date, because it's quite a mess right now. And I'm just going to put this all into Etsy as I go along through the Etsy seller app. The only thing I'm going to leave out as far as an accurate count goes is the dumbbell business card holders, just because I have so many of the ends on hand that if I get an order for one and I happen to run out, I can assemble one in a matter of seconds. So those are the only thing that are going to be left out of my count. Alright, so I've got 29 of these dog bone cookie cutters. Now, like I said, there is a lot of this stuff that still has not been added to the Etsy store. That's one of the things that I should be doing in today's video, is getting a couple of these added. I really want to get these up and posted. Paint bucket pencil holders, you know, put your scissors and your pens in them, and they've come in pretty much any color you can 3D print. You can do it with the insert inside, or it can just be a big opening like that. I've only got a few of them printed out right now. I want to get more of the bases printed out when some of these printers are finished up. Alright, next up on the list for today is fixing the Ender 3 V3 SE. It's got some, let's just say, wobbliness to it, and could use a tune-up. It's been running pretty much non-stop since I got it last December. So here on the table in front of me is the Ender 3 V3 SE from Creality. The issues that I'm having today don't really stem too much from the printer's build quality itself, more so my inability to be careful with my things. So I've got a wobbly tool head, just needs to be tightened up. We need to adjust the eccentric nut on the bottom so it provides a little bit more pressure. And I just want to check the tensioning on all of the belts. I also want to go through and clean up any of hairs, dust, anything that's on the printer, and I want to change the nozzle out as well. With all that said, I'm going to get right into it. Alright, so first up on the list is going to be tightening up this nut under here. This is the eccentric nut, and it is used to control the tension on here. So if I adjust it, it's already starting to get a little bit tighter. There we go. So you can see it basically rotates on a off-center pivot, so as you tighten it, it closes or widens the gap. So now we've got a pretty tight part right here. It's not really wobbling. It's fairly smooth. I suppose if we clean up some of this on the inside here, try a little bit more. Remember not to just run your machine back and forth either, because that will send current back into the motors and can fry them. A lot of times you'll see people running them back and forth and then everything on the machine lighting up. That's not good. You don't want that. Don't do that, people. Alright, so that was a pretty easy fix to get this going. It's all tightened back down. Next thing that I want, I suppose I want to lay it on this side. Let's make sure everything underneath is still tight. That looks good. I am going to get a rag so we can clean off this top surface. I'm going to take the build plate off. Just start cleaning the rails off. You can see all of that gunk already that's coming off of them, maybe. It's just a lot of built up dust, hair, debris, things that float around in the air and tend to get stuck to things that have grease on them. I would be using my air compressor for this, but if you have seen my latest garage episode, that is broken. No more air compressor for right now. Speaking of which, if you have any recommendations for a new air compressor, I'm not looking for anything big per se. I do want something that's capable of keeping up with spraying small parts up to like 2 feet by 3 feet. So if you have a recommendation on something in the, I guess, 12 to 24 gallon range of compressors, aiming towards that higher end, the 21 is what I had before and it worked awesome. Let me know down in the comments below. I believe the belt in here is just tensioned, yep, right through. Oops, right through this screw here. This way we'll tension it. You'll kind of be able to feel when it's too tight. The head kind of gets more difficult to move. Alright, and the final thing that I want to do on this guy is clean off these Z-rods. Clean them off, lubricate them, make sure everything down here is tight as well as all of the rest of the screws. So I'm just going to wipe them off just to get any residual dirt. There doesn't seem to be much grease left on these guys. I'm just going to take some oil and apply it to the rods. Honestly, you could probably use grease as well, but grease tends to stick to things and it doesn't come off. I'm just going to run these up and down a couple times. You get a little bit more lubricant down on these lower rods. The last thing I want to do is come in and just wipe off all of the gunk that accumulates on these rubber wheels. Evidently it tends to accumulate in just about everywhere, especially on this one. Alright, next thing I'm going to do is just come in and tighten up all of the screws. Wow, some of these were pretty loose, which I suppose is to be expected after a couple thousand hours of use. Wow, that is just absolutely loose, both of those. Alright, in a matter of 15 to 20 minutes I was able to clean this thing all off, tighten up all of the belts, all of the screws, lubricate all of the Z-rods, and it's basically ready for action again. When I do put it under the shelf and get everything plugged back in, I am going to change that nozzle out just so we're starting off with a fresh nozzle. And the only other difference between this printer and a stock Ender 3 V3 SE is, you may have noticed, there's no controller on the side of it. So I printed for the first 3 months, 2 or 3 months probably, with the stock controller on there, and then I got the urge to tinker. So I installed a Raspberry Pi OS with Klipper onto my old Surface tablet, and that basically acts as a server, and I'm able to run this through the network without having to constantly plug the SD card into it, which is awesome. So it basically works. I can use it in Orca Slicer just like any of the Bambu printers that I have set up behind me. The only issue is I don't quite remember exactly how I did it. There was a lot of trial and error getting to the point where this thing actually worked. So I will not have a tutorial on how to switch this from the stock Creality firmware over to a stock Klipper firmware, but there are plenty of tutorials online if you are in the tinkering mood. You will definitely be able to upgrade your printer a little bit just from that right off the bat, because Klipper offers vibration compensation similar to how the Bambu Lab is able to compensate for vibrations and the noise to help reduce any ringing in print lines. You can buy a $20 or $30 chip that gets attached to your tool head as well as the build plate, and that'll run a vibration compensation. Not every time, but you set it in the location, you set it up in Klipper, and it's definitely night and day difference between the quality that is stock off of the printer and after you've done a vibration compensation. Well, that's where I'm going to wrap this one up. Thank you so much for joining me today. In the next video, we're going to start tackling the filament wall. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet and you feel that I've earned your subscription, I would greatly appreciate it if you smash that subscribe button. And if you liked today's video, hit that thumbs up. It really does help out. Until next time, folks, take care.